wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name, check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain, I ingest, I retain, assess and I change, possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints, money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague, we all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name, all our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be, living in a time where disease is on every screen, I won't let them fester me, I know most are festering, negativity is a plague for the mentally weak, no mercy, all I got is working, never stop searching, never quite thirsty, I'm toxic and psychotic, with this logic, you can't stop it, it's been chronic, since I was a boy, so neurotic and chaotic, built to last, with the webs I'm weaving, I could change the past, with all I'm achieving, got my foot on gas, never stop competing, if you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em, make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em, if you take off the cast, you can see all the healing, if the pain's in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas, no, never stop competing, yeah. I've been doing this, I'm on it, I just wanna be iconic, sipping on a gin and tonic, got me going off when I'm on this topic, yeah. If I ever play, I want it, you know that I'm always honest, stay away from those who are toxic, keep them out your face, no way, you don't want it, yeah. Don't try to drain my energy, the enemy is everything, it's mentally, unhealthily, spreading like a rare disease, but I won't let it get to me, I don't need your therapy, I can leave a legacy of leading by intensity, come on, we can fight this, freedom is priceless, spread just like a virus, living in a crisis, do you feel courageous, do you seek greatness, trust me you can take it, go on and take your aim, yeah. Built to last, with the webs I'm weaving, I could change the past, with all I'm achieving, got my foot on gas, never stop competing, if you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em, make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em, if you take off the gas, you can see all the healing, if the pain's in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas, no, never stop competing, yeah.
What up? I am live here from the NFLDraft.net Mullet Manor. I am ESPN Draft Nerd Jeremy Grant. Holy shit, and I can hear myself. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I did that Tank thing. In memory of Tank, I did a thing that he does constantly. I am ESPN Draft Nerd Jeremy Green. If you are used to being here in the lives, you probably already know that. If you're not and you're new from all these mock drafts, that's who I am. For those of you, and I'm gonna wait for a second before I get fully into this. Our plans have changed ever so slightly in the last few days. As I'm sure you can tell, there is no Tank here. When I was doing, and now I can't remember which live stream it was. I've done a lot of content in the last few days. I got a text from Tank that he had a boo-boo. Well, that boo-boo was that he had impaled his foot on a metal rod. So he went, this was his second trip to the ER since we've been back from the Super Bowl. He went once because he got the same thing I got, and he couldn't get rid of it. And so he had to go to the ER to be treated. A couple days later, he impales his foot. They give him the tetanus shot. All of those things, as you do. I actually did this same thing with a roofing nail. If you've been around long enough, you actually probably heard that story. So now we both have matching scars on the same foot. But then yesterday, Ouchie Tank looked down and Mr. Foot was like the color of the YouTube logo. So he went to the hospital. They have admitted him. He'll be in there for a little bit. He has developed a little bit of a problem at the impaling site, which can be a problem I remember, it's been a long time for me, but I do remember specifically that they warned me of that. So here's what that means. I don't know exactly what our schedule is going to be this week. They haven't told him anything. Obviously, if he don't know, I don't know, and if I don't know, I can't tell you. So I will tell you the things that I do know. I do know that if at all physically possible, will still be going to the 2025 NFL Draft Scouting Combine in Indianapolis. I believe I will be leaving on Monday. That is the way it looks right now. If that cannot work, because we do have snow coming here, there have been floods between here and there, and frankly, Jeremy ain't getting on a fucking plane right now. So I'm just not. So I'm just not going to get on a plane when planes are falling out of the sky and flipping over on runways and shit like that. So it appears that I will be going to the combine by myself. I have to find a path that flooding and things have not taken roads out. I'm working on that right now. There's just a lot in the air. It sucks. It's part of the thing that really sucks of doing something like this as a two-man band. Sir Jimothy asked, can he receive things? I do believe so. I do not know what room he's in. There's a great chance he's going to be in the chat. He has been talking to me over the course of the day. So I would not see why not. He's not like in ICU or anything like that. They're just monitoring, your foot is not something that you're supposed to cut. And when you do, really bad shit could happen. So where are my entertainers asked what plane thing? I don't watch the news. For sure. We've had in the last month about 5 plane crashes. One happened yesterday in Canada. Basically, plane hit the runway, flipped upside down, slid. It was not good. We had a plane crash over Philadelphia. We had one in New York. And I am as a guy that has been on probably 1,000 commercial airline flights, I am not comfortable flying right now. I didn't even feel that way after 9/11. So, for me, this is weird. So for me, I have to be able to get there by car. I'm not dying in a plane crash. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, it's a weird time for aviation. I don't really know what's happening. It's very bizarre, but you mix that with the floods and it has obviously very much convoluted our plans for the combine. But if it is physically possible for me in the Parks Ford mobile studio to get there, I will be there by myself. Trying my damnedest to because I'm not an interviewer. So all of the content we had planned is going to be a little more difficult, but I'm going to do my damnedest to try to do it. Soaring Eagle asked, could Tank stream from the hospital? It is funny you asked that because that was the first thing he asked me was it possible for him to zoom in from the from his hospital room. There's a lot going on there today. Our goal is, even if we can't do an ESPN radio show for the rest of the week, that he will be joining. I would wager they will not be holding him for all that long, but you do have to do the antibiotics and all that bullshit when you get into something like this. So my hope is that he will be on the opposite side of the screen with me tomorrow doing draft content. So if there's, and I'm doing my damnedest to remember what I've said. If there is anything that has not gone out that you expected to, I might be a day behind. We're up to the Bears. The Bears just went out. The 49ers will be out after the show. This live stream is going to run till exactly 1:30. I have somewhere that I need to be trying to facilitate the combine. So I'm going to try to go about 70 minutes here. I'm going to answer all your questions. Frankly, I just want to talk draft. So if you guys have questions that you want to ask, I don't have a whole lot prepared. I did have a preview for the combine that I was going to do on Monday, and I don't necessarily want to do all of that in this, but I can talk about some of those things if that's what you guys want. and hopefully we'll be back to normal as quickly as humanly possible. I know even if I'm at the combine, we will still have recorded segments with me from Indianapolis, and then I will be doing lives from there. So, the thing that really sucks is, and Tank and I talked about this was the most fun trip we took last year. So I really, really hate that he's not going to be able to go, and hope everything gets back to normal and he's feeling better and all of those things in very short order. So that was the heavier, more aggressive, less than awesome things. So now we're here to talk about the draft. If you have any questions about the mock drafts that have gone out, basically anything, just fire it away. Red Sea with our first one. Do you think Isaiah Simmons is a good comp for Nick Emmanwori? I don't, and I'll tell you why. They have some of the same limitations. Emmanwori is a really good pass cover guy. I don't understand why he's not better against the run because he's so damn big. And you would think he would just be an absolute missile. He just leaves a lot for me. I want him to be better than he is. And the thing that really concerns me, and now this would be a really good comp to Isaiah Simmons. He's on such a good defense at South Carolina that it scares me that a guy built perfectly to be a really good run defender couldn't do it there. I mean, you got to think, South Carolina's going to have Kyle Kennard, TJ Sanders, Demetrius Knight, Emmanwori, O'Donnell Fortune. That's 5 guys that I think that I have going in the top 100. You should have been better than you were. I'm afraid that he is, like you said with Isaiah Simmons, a physical freak, but maybe not that great of a football player. But there are certain places that I really like him. I'm just afraid he's going to go to the combine and run really, really fast, just look like an absolute freak of nature, and he's going to get drafted too high. So that's one of my biggest concerns with Nick Emmanwori. Soaring Eagle said, you can still get on a plane. You'll be fine. Take it from me. I fly the small Cessnas. I don't do small planes. I've had a couple bad experiences on really little planes, so I only fly commercial or in the random offing that I get on somebody else's plane. I'm just not comfortable with what's happening and why, because I can't put my finger on why it's happening. So for me, it's just I don't want to be that neurotic lunatic that I have always made fun of when I've been on flights. I have flown my entire adult life. I have never had a fear of planes. And I don't really have a fear of planes now. I just don't know why all this shit's happening at one time. And it makes me incredibly uncomfortable. So my plan, as of right now, Google has not fully updated with everything from the floods in West Virginia and Kentucky. And speaking of that, our thoughts and prayers here in North Carolina with all the people that were affected by these floods. I can tell you help is on the way. So our friends at Silverados and Valley Strong Disaster Relief, they sent, I believe, 3 tractor trailers yesterday, and they were sending 5 more today of relief supplies up to all of those places. Corey and Jason and let's see, Corey and Kristen Short, Jason and Amy Ward, Jenna Lee and Ian Monley. Sorry, I have to do it as the couples or I'll leave a name out. They're doing amazing things in helping in things like this. Those guys have really found their calling in life. And it's, as a guy with some West Virginia ties, I really appreciate that and all the things that they do. Red Sea, is San Francisco going to be the final draft for today? No, it's not. Let's see. Let me look at my content schedule for today. Let's see. San Francisco's 11, so they go out at 1:30. The Dallas Cowboys will go out at 4. The 13 is the Dolphins. 14 is whoever's right in front of the Falcons. I've looked at this so many damn times that I can't even remember who it is. The Colts. So today we will have the Colts, the Cowboys, and the Miami Dolphins. Then tomorrow we will get At 15, the Falcons. 16, the Cardinals. 17, the Bengals. 18, I should probably just look this up because it would save me a lot of time of sitting here trying to think of this off the top of my head. 18, Seattle. 19, Tampa Bay. That will be for Wednesday. We're expecting a good amount of snow here, so there's a great chance that I'm going to be tied up in this studio. Then Thursday, we'll go Denver, Pittsburgh, Chargers, Green Bay, Minnesota. Then we will go Houston, L.A., Baltimore, Detroit on Friday. I believe that's how that worked. And then Washington, Buffalo, Kansas City, Philadelphia over the weekend. And I may have some of those off, but that's roughly how the schedule is going to go. Soaring Eagle, here's what you don't know. These accidents happen all the time. Anyway, albeit with smaller planes, private jets, they just never get media coverage like this. This is only happening with the Now, that's you're not the first person to tell me that. And that does make a lot of sense. I've never seen a Delta airline flight on its roof like that. And I fly Delta. So, in my head, it's been, I don't like any of this shit. Dylan Joyner, how high will Tyler Warren go in this last mock draft, the 3-round mock draft that is going out right now? And just so you know, those 3-round mock drafts happen in a vacuum. So that is all one independent draft. That goes 1 to 101. There are no repeats. The next one will be the A-plus mock drafts. That'll be after the combine. That is best case scenario. You will see certain players multiple times. Then we'll start getting into the 7-rounders, and I'm getting angina just thinking about that, as we have 65 days and I have 500 prospect profiles to do. So it's going to be a fun few weeks for me. I would say the highest that Tyler Warren will go is 7 to the Jets. I don't really think that will happen because I don't see a way that Will Johnson or Mason Graham, possibly even both, are still there for the Jets. I believe they would take either one ahead of Tyler Warren. The Saints then become probably the first team that I would think would be interested. I don't think the Bears would be. Obviously, the 49ers wouldn't. Dallas, maybe, but I'm so locked in on them taking Genty. Miami wouldn't. And then I get to the Colts, and I don't see him, as Bill Workman said, I can't see him getting past the Colts. I think Indianapolis is his floor. So he has a nice, concise range of the Jets at 7 to the Colts at 14. Oh, in case you can't tell, my brain is like liquid shit right now because I have been in this chair for a really long time. And I don't usually let internet trolls piss me off, but there was one yesterday that I find myself doing that thing where you type out a response and it's pissed off and you write it and it's funny. And then you go, why am I doing this? And I've been doing that for about 12 hours. Off and on. It's not been a consistent thing, but it really irritates me when people. I hate internet trolls. I hate them because none of these people would ever say the shit that they say to me or specifically to Tank. They would never say it to your face. They just hide behind the screen, and it's really, really infuriating. Bill Workman said the chair's starting to eat me. Thankfully, I have a very comfortable Serta chair, so it was a wise investment. It was actually originally my wife's. I bought her another one for Christmas or one of the holidays. So now she's got one that reclines and does all kinds of shit, and I stole hers. It's got makeup stains on the handles, but nobody can see that. And it's really, really comfortable. While I'm waiting on more draft questions, it's a good time to thank all of you that are going through the playlists and watching every single mock draft. I know there are a lot of you because I can see it in the analytics that there's a high retention rate. If you're looking for a way to help us, go to the playlist that has all these mock drafts and just run through them. Make sure you go from beginning to end. It dings you if people leave. click that little thumbs up, and comments are really, really helpful. So we're working on a lot of things, trying to get away from. We're trying to get to a not commercial-less model, but to more of a content-based model where we can invest our time in these things. Matthew Hoffman, Jeremy, what is the real problem with Jordan Travis? In your mock, you have the Jets taking Dart, which I don't hate, but why did they take Travis? So Travis was a developmental pick. I mean, they took him in the 6th round. There's just the thing with Jordan Travis, I always thought he was a really good leader. I never really thought he was a great prospect. Now, I know they really like him, or the previous regime really liked him. That's another thing you got to remember. You got a new head coach. I never really valued him. I thought he would get a shot behind Aaron Rodgers solely because I knew where the Jets are right now was coming. I saw the breakup with Aaron Rodgers coming, mainly because I thought he was going to retire. And then I saw all of the fallout coming and the salary cap issues. And that was where I was with Jordan Travis, is that I think you're going to have Tyrod Taylor probably backed up by a rookie or Jordan Travis. And so I thought there was a possibility that with injuries or things like that, he could get a shot. And look, the kid has consistently bypassed expectations. When he came to Florida State, I don't know that I've ever hated a Florida State player more than I hated Jordan Travis. By the end, I loved him in a way that I've loved very, very few Florida State Seminoles. So I think the kid can play. Jackson Dart is absolutely screaming up boards. So I will go ahead and tell you, I did that mock Thursday of last week, maybe Wednesday of last week. It was one of the days after we came back from the Super Bowl while we were on sabbatical. The planned one, not the one we're on now. Jackson Dart has screamed up boards to a point that FanDuel had him going to the Jets at 7. I think that is insane, and I do not see that happening. But there is a lot of love for Jackson Dart. I think a lot of people are starting to see what I saw in Dart, which is you shoehorn this guy's helmet scouting. You've seen all these guys come out of Lane Kiffin's system, and they're pick and pop, and all of the reads are made. The problem is that you're not realizing that Jackson Dart's just a superior athlete to all of the other quarterbacks that have gone through that system. So when you helmet scout, it makes it really easy to just go, oh, well, none of these guys ever succeed. So obviously Jackson Dart's going to suck, and he's a 3rd-round pick. And then you watch him, and you go, no, that doesn't look like a 3rd-round pick to me. My final quarterback rankings, I can tell you with about 95% certainty, Jackson Dart is going to be my number 2 quarterback in this class. There is a faint possibility that he gets all the way to 1. I will say I don't find that to be very likely because he would have a lot of ground he would have to be special at the combine. I'm talking run really fast and just be unbelievable, crush the interviews. But there is an outside possibility that Jackson Dart's my number 1 quarterback in this class. I've loved him for years. I just thought he had some developmental limitations that were going to make him a harder eval, and the more and more and more and more I've watched him, the more I absolutely love him. So Jackson Dart's a dog. He will not be there at 42. I almost didn't even put that video out, but I didn't want to let down Jet fans, and I know we have a bunch of those, so I ran with it. I even said in it, they will probably have to trade up to get him. Bill Workman, how does Malachi Starks fit with the Panthers if Will Johnson isn't available? I don't believe that's where they would go. Malachi Starks is an interesting eval, just solely because there's no consensus on him. We all like him, but then the more and more scouts you talk to, the more they try to pick holes in his game. And there are a lot of people that just absolutely believe there's no such thing as a safety that belongs in the top 10. And I get that. I really do. I believe that for the Panthers, their pecking order would be probably Mason Graham 1. And I'm taking out the obvious ones. Abdul Carter's not going to be there. Travis Hunter's not going to be there. I will say Mason Graham would be their 1. Will Johnson's probably 2. Ted McMillan's probably their 3. And if none of those three were to be there, it would be whichever edge rusher they fell in love with, and they would have to overdraft them. If I were betting, I would say that would be Mike Green. The other two that I've thought about are James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker. I don't think anybody could fall that in love with Jalen Walker. I don't think the character issues with James Pierce are going to go away because I just keep hearing them. So I would say it would probably, if none of those guys were there, I would say it would probably be Mike Green. He also fits nicely in a 3-4 standing up. Matthew Hoffman, if the Jets were to take Dart, when do you predict he starts? I would say probably about midway through the first year. So I'm not 100% sure that – I'm not 100% sure he wouldn't start off the jump. And there's a possibility to just start week one they'd have Tyrod Taylor behind him, and I wouldn't hate that at all. But I would say he would definitely be the starter by the middle of the year. Will Stanley, our old friend who is doing big things now in the triad, where do you project Kyle McCord? Kyle McCord's an interesting one. I hated him with the fire of 1,000 suns at Ohio State. Then he went to Syracuse, and the more I watched that tape, the more I started to think, he looks like an NFL quarterback. I don't think he's a starter. I believe he kind of falls into that. I'm trying to think of a really good example of this. A guy that was a ballyhooed prospect. He's got the talent. He just doesn't have all of it. He doesn't have the physical makeup. He doesn't have the mental makeup, whatever it is to be a starter, but he is a perfectly fine spot starter. I wanted to say Matt Leinart there, and I'm glad I caught myself because that would have been insane. I know there is what Matt Barkley. Matt Barkley is that's the best. Matt Barkley's been in the NFL for what feels like 27 years. It's not actually that long, but that's how I project Kyle McCord. I think he would be fine. I just don't think he's ever going to get a shot. The problem is that you're about to get flooded in the next 3 years with quarterback prospects. And some of them are going to be clunky evals like Lenore Sellers. Some of them are going to be really ballyhooed like Arch Manning and Drew Aller. I'm looking at the number of teams that need quarterbacks in the next 2 to 3 years. And I just don't really see a path that he's ever going to get a shot to be the guy. Now, could a team fall in love with him? Absolutely. And I think he goes somewhere between, I'll say 90 and 125. That would be my projection on Kyle McCord. I think you're going to get a weird little run of quarterbacks at the end of day 2, beginning of day 3, with McCord, Will Howard, maybe Riley Leonard, but I highly doubt it. Dart will be gone. Quinn Ewers will be in that tier. Tyler Shuck could be in that tier because beauty's going to be in the eye of the beholder, and teams are going to take a shot. In that Saints mock, that was the whole reason that I said that. Do I think he's going to be the quarterback of the future there? Not really. But what if he is? And you hit on that in the 3rd round, and then you have the most valuable draft asset, maybe ever, with Arch Manning coming out next year. And at that point, I think, honestly, they would take Arch and trade Quinn Ewers, but you could get some nice return on the investment. Red Sea said, not going to lie, I was really sad when I watched the Saints mock and saw TJ Sanders go to another team. TJ Sanders may end up in the 1st round. And I'm not going to lie to you, that's getting more and more real by the minute. People are doing with TJ Sanders what now, 2 weeks later, what they did 2 weeks ago with Walter Nolan. They're watching the tape and going, good God almighty, this kid's good. And he can do everything. I love TJ Sanders. I think he would be a great fit with New Orleans. I think he'd be a great fit with a lot of teams. I think that's a guy that very easily could be he could be a Buffalo Bill. He could be a Kansas City Chief. He could be a Philadelphia Eagle. He could be a lot of things. TJ Sanders, definitely a guy to watch this next week with the Combine. Andreas Pinckney, love the Saints 3-round mock. Just needed an X receiver, and it's chef's kiss. Yeah, the Saints kind of got fucked on Saints receivers in this mock because 3 of them went right in front of them. And so I wound up with Xavier Restrepo. And I like the premise of taking Restrepo, especially with Tyler Warren, because it gives you some more intermediate targets. I think one of the problems with Olave and Rashid Shaheed is that they're really, really good over the top. I don't know how good they are in the intermediate. Olave, obviously, better than Shaheed. But I've always kind of felt like a quarterback needs that security blanket guy, especially if its quarterback's not very good. I need that guy that I can trust, that's got the sure hands, usually not overly athletic. It falls into that Julian Edelman role of just you find a way to get open, you catch it when I hit you, and I can trust you. And I really like having those guys with teams that don't have quarterbacks that I really believe in. Now, can Pat Mahomes benefit from a guy like that? Absolutely. But I in mocks tend to lean more to the lesser quarterback situations when it comes to a guy like Restrepo. A couple more here from Andreas Pinckney. He was talking to Red Sea, said Sanders is a dog. Him next to Breeze would be a great watch because Breeze is a crap run defender, but a really good pass rusher. He can be a really good pass rusher. I think he has been – I'm not as down on him as PFF is. PFF has him as quite possibly the worst player in the NFL. I don't think it's that bad. But he does – I would be interested to see if you do hire Brandon Staley and he does bring a 3-4, I will be really interested to see where Brian Breeze plays, because him moving to the outside in a 3-4, playing as a 3-4 D end, would either be the greatest thing that ever happened to him or it would completely push him out of the league, and I don't know which one. So that's one of those interesting team within the team all season kind of things to watch as we go along. Andreas Pinckney said, I can see Dart go as high as the Dolphins if he has a good combine. The Dolphins are locked in on Tua. Now, I will say this. Do not be surprised if they draft Dylan Gabriel. I've after meeting Daniel Jeremiah, I am taking some of his wisdom and I'm taking it to heart. You should evaluate with your eyes and mock draft with your ears. I have heard no less than 20 of the smartest people in the draft industry tie Dylan Gabriel to the Miami Dolphins. And I know it's because he's left-handed and he's smaller and he kind of looks like they're both from Hawaii. You get down the similarities path. I don't really care about any of that. I start hearing all of that from smart people and go, where do you think that is coming from? And it's probably coming from a certain place, and I would wager it's Dylan Gabriel's agents or somebody with the Dolphins or whatever the case may be. They're letting it be known behind closed doors. When you hear draft analysts constantly that don't work for the same network saying the same shit, it's because we're all being told it. Where it comes from, don't necessarily always know. It's one of the beauties of the combine is that you can sift through a lot of this shit. But I have heard a lot of Dylan Gabriel to the Dolphins. Bob Brown, the free agency values being released for Sweat, Bond, Williams, and Becton are much lower than I thought. Spotrac values seem to match what NFL GMs are referencing. Where do you look for free agency values? Okay, so Spotrac is one of those, and I'm going to pull up a Spotrac just off the top of my head. It's a good reference. It is not the end-all, be-all. All right, so I'm going to go in contract value here. And I will go, let me pull this out of Teams. I was using this for something else the other day. All right, market value for Stephon Diggs. They have him at $13.5 million. That is absolutely fucking laughably stupid to me. I get what they're doing, and they use a formula. They do really, really good work. But let me just put him into a box for you. So at $13.5 million, that would put him behind or right with Gabriel Davis, Darnell Mooney, Cortland Sutton, and DeAndre Hopkins. Have you ever seen Stephon Diggs? Like, have you ever even laid eyes on this person? He's a pretty egotistical guy. There's no way he's taking a below market value deal like that. That's where I run into issues with Spot Track. They do that with a lot of guys. Now, what I'm going to do, since you said that, because I haven't looked at Philadelphia's guys, I will tell you from what I have heard if these are too high or too low. All right. Philadelphia. Apologies for my computer going a little slow. Oh, red circle of death. It's never good. It's never good. Stand by. Just waiting for my computer to decide it wants to actually work. There we go. Okay, so Josh Sweat's market value, according to SpotTrack, is $18.8 million. I will say that one's pretty close. I will say he probably gets 20, but I wouldn't be shocked if it came in about 18.8. Zach Bond is at 9.7. It will be more than that. I guarantee it. May not be crazy more than that. They have him at 2 years, $20 million. That's fucking nuts. There's no way that a guy that almost won MVP, or Defensive Player of the Year, is going to end up at $10 million a year. I don't give a damn what position he plays. Because I could easily see a team, if Philadelphia doesn't want to value him, I could easily see a team overpaying him if he's allowed to make it to the market. So I'll say Sweat's about accurate. Bond is low. Let's see. This is Mekhi Becton. He's at 10. Yeah, I will not be surprised at all if he gets $10 million a year. And Milton Williams, I'll bet you without seeing this is low. 12. I'll say it's higher than that. I think he's going to be in that 15 range. I'll say he's going to be in that 15 range. So, some of those are pretty accurate. Some of them are, a couple of them are very, very low. Bill Workman, I was afraid you'd say that we would draft, overdraft an edge, talking about the Carolina Panthers. Carolina, and I know I've said this a handful of times. I've done so much work on Carolina the last few days. I always have a team in every draft where I go, holy shit, could you just find a trade one way or the other? Go up or down. I don't give a shit which one it is. And Carolina is that team this year because I hate the fit for them at 8. Because there's a possibility that you have no Will Johnson because the Jets are forced to take him. You have no Mason Graham if Jacksonville takes him at 5. And you have Ted McMillan possibly go at 4 to New England. Who are you supposed to take? I don't have anybody that fits them in that range. So I always feel for those teams. Mainly because it's been the Jets about 8 of the last 15 years. Sir Jimothy said he's about 10 or so minutes behind. He's really ready for the Cowboys and Dolphins mocks. Those are both coming out today. Bradley Presley, where do you think Azaria Thomas is ranked, and what teams do you like him with? I put him with the Raiders in the initial mock, and I really, really like that. I think he's more raw than people let on. And look, I watched him a lot because I am I watched a lot of Florida State. Sorry, I got 3 screens going on here. It's very distracting. I watched a lot of Florida State, obviously, because I'm a Florida State fan. I never at any point thought he was a no-doubt one. I'll be really honest with you, he reminds me a lot of Asante Samuel. I think if you're willing to put the time in, that you can really develop him into quite a quality player. The problem is, if you don't put the time in and you rush him into action, you're going to see some of those bad habits he had. They're going to become lifelong fatal flaws, which is currently where I think we are with Asante Samuel. I think he's a good player. I think he's a great raw athlete, but he's got some bad habits that have basically pushed him out of the Chargers rotation. And the fact that they drafted 2 just hammer rookies. What teams do I like him with? I would like him. I obviously liked him with the Raiders because I put him with the Raiders. Who else would I like him with? Let me look down pull up my notes here and see if I can see if I had any other teams that I had him. I don't. Off the top of my head. I wouldn't hate him with the Colts. I wouldn't hate him with the Dolphins. The Dolphins that would be a really good one. A team where he can be the no doubt 2. My fear is that he's going to go in the back of the first round and he's going to be somebody's no doubt 1, and I will not like that. I like it. I think he's a good kid. I think he's a good player, but I don't want to have to trust him off the jump. Praise YHWH said, bro, I think you killed that Saints draft. Restrepo and Warren Rattler might be Timo Mahomes with that. Thank you for that. I did a lot of work on the Saints. Some of these are really easy. All right, so the San Francisco 49ers comes out after this live stream in 38 minutes. The San Francisco 49ers might be the easiest mock draft I've ever done. And I could very easily see 2 months from now that their draft going exactly how I had it. Because it was so easy. New Orleans was not easy because they're another one like Carolina. You got players that are behind them that I really like for them, but I don't want to overdraft guys in a mock draft because I try my damnedest not to do that. But then I get to the end and I go, shit, you still got needs. With New Orleans, what I finally figured out is you're going to have needs regardless. That's what happens when you're, $52 million over the cap? You're going to have guys that you're going to have positions that I can't address. And when I finally got to that point and I just went, the hell with it, I'm going to draft players that I really like for New Orleans. That's when I got to New Orleans, and by the end of it, I looked at it and went, I like that a lot. I would have loved, as Andreas Pinckney said, to get them an outside weapon, an outside receiver, but I couldn't do that, and I had to just kind of chalk it up to that was where it was. But thank you for the kind words there, Praise. He also said, for real, Breeze blocked the field goal. Like, bro, come on, why can't you use that energy for sacks all year? Brian Breeze is a weird guy. I don't know what to do with him, to be really honest. Andreas Pinckney said that win against the Giants absolutely killed us. Could be picking at 6 instead of 9. We have teams like that every year. You win a game late. The Jets have done it no less than 50 times. Hell, they did it this year. They could be picking at 5, and Mason Graham would be right there every single fucking time. But instead, no, we had to beat whoever the hell it was, the Dolphins. Maybe the Dolphins. A win that didn't mean shit to anybody but Aaron Rodgers. Red Sea, do you think there's a team that will fall for the upside of Mikael Williams and take him way too high? Please, God, don't be Arizona. I don't think 16 is too high for him. I'm afraid that where I would be afraid is a team picking him at 8. Another thing that it's always rattled me about Mikael Williams. Kirby Smart talked about playing him off the ball and having him as a standing edge rusher and doing all these different things. Then why did he never do it? I think Kirby Smart's a really bright coach. I think he's one of the best coaches we have in college football. And so for him, a guy that's been around this guy every day for 3 years, to never look at him and go, I mean, outside of one bowl game where they didn't have any damn players, to never really look at him and go, we're going to stand you up and see what you can do here. It makes me think he can't do it. So I'm evaluating him almost exclusively as a 4-3 end. My fear is that Carolina would do it. My fear is that Atlanta might do it. I don't worry as much about the Cardinals, but they are a team that I would at least have that in the back of my mind. I wouldn't hate him at 16. I would hate him at 8. That's for sure too high to me. Where my entertainer said Sam Darnold comp, I'm going to assume he was talking about with Jackson Dart. And hey, that's a pretty good comparison because I love them both. Sir Jimothy said, okay, I'll be sure to finish all the mock draft videos I've been leaving shortly before. I have been thumbs upping them to help. The thumbs up definitely helps. The watch time helps a lot, and comments help more than I could ever tell you. So I'll, and this is something that nobody cares, but it's just a a short explanation. So, of the mock draft videos that we've done, and they hit at different times. For whatever reason, the Titans and the Giants just got completely jumped over, in spite of the fact that they've had a lot of likes and all those things. The Giants has 3 comments. The Titans has 5. The Patriots has 57. The Patriots has done 14 times more views than both of the other two. The Browns has 13 comments. The Jaguars have 11, which will probably be the next one that really catches some traction. Comments are a big, big deal in the YouTube algorithm. Watching videos to completion are also a big deal. That's why I did the mock draft playlist. So if you go into the playlist and you just hit play all, just hit the thumbs up, even if it's a team you don't care about, you can set your phone down, whatever the case may be. Leave a 5-word comment and watch that video all the way through. There is literally nothing you could do that would help us more. Sharing things, that also helps, but then it gets into the weirdness of sharing into Facebook. If you're in Discord helps a lot, but YouTube and Facebook hate each other. So we also are sharing all of the videos to our Facebook, so you'll be able to share them that way. That is also very helpful. So thank you to all of you that do that. We really, really, really appreciate you for all of those things. Bill Workman, 2026 and 27 draft class for quarterback is why I wouldn't worry about drafting a quarterback this year and just focus on building a team and having a bridge quarterback. There are a lot of teams that I think are going to do that. My fear is that a team is going to take somebody outside of those top 3, because I do see the talent in the top 3. I obviously love Jackson Dart. I've had Shedeur and Cam Ward as 1-2 for as long as I can remember. That is very much in danger right now. It's all the other guys. Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe, Will Howard. I don't want to do any of that shit before 75. I wouldn't even consider it before 75. And I think that's probably how this is going to go, that 3 teams will get those top 3 guys, and everybody else will kick the can down the road for a year. Let's see. Praise said, I don't know, man. I saw Aller miss a 1-yard flat route, which is insane. I think he has a bad year. Time will tell. The interesting thing to me about Aller is that the tape on him is super infuriating, because you watch him do all of the things that you could ever want him to do, and then he absolutely cannot do the most mundane, simple things. That throw against Notre Dame will haunt him for the rest of his life. The interception, it was an absolutely terrible read. And the funny thing is, he never does that. Ever. And he did it in the worst possible time. Aller has some Christian Hackenberg vibes. He has some, just all the talent in the world, but he just can't put it together. So he has the same problem Caleb Williams has always had to me. He does not want to push the issue. He does not want to make a mistake. And he will be a really interesting eval. I was pissed when he came back to school because I thought he was going to be the 3rd quarterback in this class. Now that I've had time to reflect on it and let the emotion kind of wither away, I'm good with him coming back. Mainly because I really didn't want to have to eval him this year, because I don't have a good beat on him yet. So I can kick that can down the road for a year. Sir Jimothy, chances the Jets get Sammy D and or Jameis Winston. Sam Darnold, I will say there is a better chance that I am the starting quarterback of the New York Jets next year than Sam Darnold. A, money. B, he did not really have a good time in New York. C, I don't see them investing that much of very limited resources in quarterback. D, I think he'll get more money somewhere else. Jameis Winston, there is a possibility, I guess, that Aaron Glenn and his contacts in New Orleans is enough for him to say that Jameis is such a culture guy. You're going to hear the word culture with the Jets a lot. And I will say it's very low on Jameis, but I would give that a spot. I would give that a little piece. Maybe 5%. But on Sammy D, 0. Bob Brown, do you believe in the chatter about Trevor Lawrence to Pittsburgh? Let me say this clearly as I can. No. I don't believe it on Kyler Murray. I don't believe it on Trevor Lawrence. Really, all you've got to do to cut through some of the bullshit on moves like this. Red C's been upset about these Arizona Jet rumors with Kyler Murray. They're coming from very bored media guys that lazily have to come up with content, and they don't know what to do because this is a period of the year that if you're not a draft guy, it is really hard to come up with content. And that's where they are. Kyler Murray in a trade, if it's pre-June 1, would be $28.6 million in dead cap this year, 17.9 next year, 17.2 the following year. That doesn't make any sense. For a quarterback that's your best chance at winning, and I think you're ascending. The Jets, meanwhile, are in a rebuild. They don't really have any money. So where exactly is the impetus to do this from either one of them? Now, Trevor Lawrence, this one's even funnier. To trade Trevor Lawrence, post-June 1, the Jaguars would be paying at least $7 million in dead cap space for the next 6 years. Not going to happen. Yes, they would save some money on the backside. Not going to happen. Absolutely 0% chance. And if you traded him pre-June 1, you'd have $100 million dead cap this year and $85.5 million next year. It doesn't make any sense. To take $100 million in dead cap space does not make any sense. So, no, I will say no on Trevor, on any kind of Trevor Lawrence trade. Oh, sorry, I lost my place in the chat. Andres Pinckney said, I still love Walter Nolan. Screw the scheme change, just get him. I actually think Walter Nolan can be a 3-4 defensive end. And I think he could be really, 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 really good at that. So I don't think you're out. Let me put it this way. I know Pinckney pretty well. I know he really loves Walter Nolan. I will say there is a better than 0 chance that you take him at 9. Put it that way. I love Walter Nolan. I've loved him the entire time, and I think the industry is just catching up to what I've already seen. Eamon Report, Dolphins backup search should start and end with Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't actually disagree with that. That's a really astute point. Go Jimmy G and Dylan Gabriel, and that's a pretty solid quarterback room. That's a good point from Eamon Report. GG Gambling, if the Rams pull off the trade with the Giants and land the number 3, let's see where this is headed, and land the number 3 pick, do you think Travis Hunter would be able to play both corner and versatile slot weapon for them, or just corner? Okay, let me say this. This was really well timed because it ties into the other quarterback things. The New York Giants are not trading for Matthew Stafford. I get it that maybe Malik Neighbors wants it. Hell, maybe even Matthew Stafford wants it. The fact his brother-in-law is on the staff of the New York Giants literally does not mean a hill of shit. Not one hill of shit. Because you got to look at the Rams and go, hey, what are you going to do at quarterback? Because you don't have one of those. And that's an ascending team. The Giants are an absolute dumpster fire, and Matthew Stafford is 37 years old. Now, if you were to get to 3, yes, I do think that Travis Hunter could be – I think he's going to play corner and wide receiver in the NFL. I don't really think he's going to play much out of the slot. I think he's an outside receiver, but I've always thought that. So, Red Sea said Spot Track has one of our backup guards at $16.6 million. Holy shit. Now I'm curious as hell who that is. Let's see. Will Hernandez. I'll bet you it's Will Hernandez. Nope. 4.3. Maybe Evan Brown? Nope. 4.7. I don't know who that is. Yeah, Spot Track is it can be interesting in some of its evals. Andres Pinckney said if the Giants give up the third pick for Stafford, they are morons. I agree wholeheartedly. And Gigi, trust me, I understand why you would want it to happen. It's just not going to. Ches Johnson, you know damn well John Lynch will not draft smartly. I'll be honest with you, I don't think that's fully his call anymore. I think that if you look back at what the 49ers have done in the draft, I always go back to the Jake Moody thing because I think that is top 5 dumbest picks I've ever seen. At some point, there's going to be some institutional control. They hit on Renardo Green last year. I think they hit on Dominic Pooney last year. Other than that, I mean, Ricky Pearsall, he's fine, I suppose. Jair Brown the year before. Cameron Latu, Darrell Luter, Robert Beal. There's not a whole lot of impact here. And you can do this for an extended period of time. I think there's going to be some oversight on John Lynch this year. Just solely that he is not making these calls by himself. We have our first super chat of the day. We always appreciate the super chats. It's from our buddy Red Sea, who said Tristan Colon. Let's see. Tristan Colon Castillo. He is a 6'. Get the fuck out of here. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Okay, 16.6 for Tristan Colon. And somebody at Spot Track got real drunk on a work day. Because that is insanity. Jay Wolves, who do the Falcons draft in the first round? We all know the Falcons will falcon in the first round. To me, it's got to be an edge rusher. I gave them an edge rusher in their 3-round mock draft, which will be coming out tomorrow. And I'm not going to lie to you, I really don't give a damn which one it is. If Mike Green were to fall to them, they should absolutely do jumping jacks. If James Pierce were to fall to them, they should absolutely do jumping jacks. What is the Falcons going to falcon? That they take a Georgia Bulldog, whether it's Jalen Walker or Michael Williams. I would say that's where they falcon, because I don't like either of those guys ahead of Pierce or ahead of Mike Green. But yeah, who do they draft? A pass rusher. Which one? The best one on the board. Because I saw somebody the other day say they should take Malachi Starks, and I went, in a perfect world, that would be awesome. The problem is that's no better than their 7th biggest need. So if you do that, just be prepared that a lot of people are going to lose their shit. Praise said Falcons really value positional value. I can see them going cornerback. Benjamin Morrison will be a steal if he lasts past the top 15. I tend to agree. The only thing I will say is that none of us have seen the medical. And usually, when that is the case, and none of these guys' agents have put out a medical, and we're going into the combine completely blind, that usually means they find something that is less than ideal. And I have not seen a person yet that knows shit of Benjamin Morrison's medical, and that scares me to death. Praise also asked, sorry I was behind. I just heard you say Jets winning games messes up their picks. Didn't y'all miss on Trevor Lawrence because of that? Were you pissed? Let me put it this way. I was in public for that game. That was against the Rams. And I loved Sam Darnold. I was completely okay with rolling with Sam. I just knew we weren't going to. I don't know that I've been that drunk in public in my entire life. Because I sat there and pounded shots of Fireball because I knew exactly what had just happened. We lost the chance at a generational prospect because we beat the Rams in a game that nobody fucking remembers outside of me and other Jet fans that are still pissed off about that. So, yes, to answer your question, I was mad as hell. I'm still mad as hell. And Adam Gase can get fucked by the fickle finger of fate. I hope he gets fired from his stupid-ass high school job and has to be a janitor at a shitty truck stop in the middle of Terre Haute, Indiana. Terre Haute, Indiana. Iman Report said Allers plays an indictment on Will Franklin, and the Jets will ride out with Tyrod Taylor. I agree with you on both. Allers' play is definitely an indictment on James Franklin. I don't understand why he's not getting any better. That's always something that makes me nervous when I see players, because Drew Aller literally has everything you could ever want. And he's just not getting any better. And I don't understand it. And it makes me angry. And as for Tyrod Taylor, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I fully believe he is the starting quarterback of the New York Jets 1 year from now. Sir Jimothy said Trevor to Denver. No. Trevor back to Jacksonville, because that's where he's going to be. Praise asked, how do we get the beer emoji and support? I can pull that for you right now. I've done a bad job with the House of Reprehensibles, mainly because at this point, I swear to God, I feel like a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with it if I caught one, but it seems like every time I'm just putting out the fires as they are actively burning. This has been ever since the flood. I swear to God, it seems like every time I turn around, something else breaks, or somebody gets hurt, or some weird bullshit happens, and it's oh boy, it's been a hoot and a half. Okay, in the chat you will see the link to join the House of Reprehensibles. I will be re-imaging that. I would say there's very good chance we do not do another ESPN radio show this week, but I will continue to do live streams like this. Hopefully with Tank joining me at some point. But that's how you get the beer mug. And the beer mug upgrades. It changes color every month that you're here. I'm trying to see if I see one that's... I don't remember the tiers, to be 100% honest with you. I know they get to gold. The final one is gold. Bad Rocket. That's a new name. Welcome in. We're like an AA meeting for sports. Feel free to comment your drug of choice. Mine's Sam Darnold. And mediocre quarterbacks that continue to break my heart. Haven't heard anyone talk about Tyler Batty from BYU. Just curious if you have any take on him. I do. I actually like the kid. I think I'm trying to remember. Let me check my rankings. I want to make sure I don't lie to you here. I know where I have him. The question is, where in that position grouping do I have him? He's going to be a 3-4 DN to me. He's a kid out of BYU that he's got a really good motor. Let's see, right there. I have him as my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He was my 11th 3-4 DN, so he almost made my top 10. And now that you've asked me that question, I wish I had slid him into that video. I like the kid a lot. I'm afraid that he kind of falls into that. I'm trying to think of a Cameron Thomas that was drafted by the Cardinals a few years ago. He was traded to the Chiefs. I couldn't tell you where he is now. I think he's still with the Chiefs. That he's a high motor guy, but he doesn't actually play one position, and he never really locks into one. I think he is really dependent on where he goes. And if he goes to a team that will narrow him in as a true honest-to-God 5-tech, I think he can be a really good value player in this class. The reason that you're not going to hear things about him, and I will happily tell you this as clearly as I can, BYU does a terrible job in terms of their media of getting these guys out in front of people like me. There are certain teams that make their shit so easy to find. BYU's not one of them. And so you see guys that are those more middle tier guys that you don't necessarily hear the media talk about them. The scouts know about them because they make that super easy. But they don't do a great job of getting the content in front of us. The SEC does an awesome job of that. I'll be honest with you, the ACC does a really good job of that. The Big Ten does a good job of that. You get into some of those more mediocre conferences, and yes, I do consider the Big 12 to be a mediocre conference because they're specifically the one I'm talking about here. They do just such a shitty job of, I mean, some of the tape that I get out of the Big 12 looks like it was shot on a fucking cell phone. It looks like the Zapruder film. I keep waiting for John F. Kennedy to get shot in the head as in the background because it sucks that bad. That's a rant that nobody but me gave a shit about, and I apologize for that, but I feel better that I was able to go on that rant. But to answer the question you originally asked me, I think Tyler Batty will be a mid to late day 3 pick, and will, depending on the team, will be a player that I really like. I would love the idea of him with the Rams. I would love the idea of him with... I'm trying to think of somebody that develops those guys really, really well. The Rams were the first one that came to my mind. No, that's the first one that came to my mind. I know there are more, but I can't think of one right this second. Okay, I'm going to have to get through the chat reasonably quick here. We have one of these. And that is Praise YHWH, who is a new member of the House of Reprehensibles. We appreciate you so much. That is a great way to support the channel. We appreciate that so much. The Patreon, all of those things. And I promise you, I swear to God, as soon as I get done with the mock drafts, there will be a ton of content on the Patreon. Tank's little boo-boo has greatly put me behind the 8 ball, and T's and P's for Cantankerous. But I hope that answered your question on Tyler Batty. Let's see. Sir Jimothy said, disregard any Trevor question. Just heard about the cap space. Andreas Pinckney said the Jaguars don't even have a GM. That makes this even funnier. So what's funny is it was a Jaguar fan that was coming after me yesterday. And he said, what idiot would take Ted McMillan over Mason Graham? And I said, most likely the same idiot that hired a guy that took Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson. And that was when, the conversation took a nastier turn. But, by the way, Liam Cohen is 100% hiring this GM. I saw the list yesterday. I don't quite have time to get into that right now, but I'll make a note of it to do tomorrow. Bobby Barnett, what do you think are realistic expectations for J.J. McCarthy this coming year? I'll be honest with you, if he can be Bo Nix in year 1, coming off an injury and a completely lost rookie year, you should be really, really happy. And I think if he is able to do that, Minnesota's still a playoff team. I think you're better off with Sam Darnold. I actually met a great dude, last name Ford. I cannot think of his first name. Cody, maybe? At dinner the other night. It was a big Vikings fan. We were talking about that. And I think you're better off with Sam, but I do think you can still win games with J.J. McCarthy if he can be Bo Nix level with better mobility. Eamon Report, Jed York has put Shanahan and Lynch on notice after a losing season. That will not be tolerated this year. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Let's see. Red Sea, still don't know why he came out this year. He's talking about Benjamin Morrison, I'm pretty sure. Could have been a no-doubt top 5 to 10 pick next year as a corner. Now he may not go in the top 20. I don't really see a way that he's going in the top 20. So that is definitely – that's another thing that makes me wonder if the medical's bad and if there was a possibility that Notre Dame was going to fail him and he was going to have to go into the transfer portal and different things. That kid is super, super talented, but the hip makes me really, really nervous. Welcome in Austin Groves. Matt Penn, getting drunk off Fireball is an average weekend around these parts. It's an average weekend around these parts, too. Sometimes, not even a weekend. Sometimes you do it on a weekday because you're just so damn stressed out that you have to hit the Fireball hard, which reminds me, I need to go to the liquor store while I'm out in a little bit. It's supposedly getting ready to snow like hell here, and I need booze in the house if I'm going to be trapped. I'm in report said shoe salesman Adam Gase. I have much worse things to say about him than that. Matt Penn said Drew Aller looks like he's crying every time the camera's on him. He does have this weird teary-eyed look to him that I've never really been able to understand. Andreas Pinckney, Walter Nolan at 9 and Alec Ayumanor at 40. I'm trying to speak it into existence by just saying it. Hey, There is no other way to do those things other than to speak them into existence. Sir Jimothy asked, what color is my beer? I'm colorblind, and that looks orange. I think it's orange. I should probably update those because I just realized that the House of Reprehensibles beers are still the old color scheme from when we started this show. Man, there's a lot of shit that goes into this that you just, and I'd be honest with you, I see that every day, and I have not even noticed that until you just said it. So I will work on beer colors and things like that. I need to dig deep into that. Probably 67 days from now, after the draft is over. Stock up to NFL superfan Tom Grossi trying to raise $1 million for fallen Patriots. Andreas Pinckney said his videos are funny as hell. I do not know who that guy is, so I'm gonna Google search him here. I have absolutely no idea who that guy is. I need to dig into that. I'm gonna leave that up so when I get back, I can dig into that. Sir Jimothy said, hack to help. I have the mock drafts going on a different tab that is muted so it can help. Considering I watched them already, figured it wouldn't hurt to not hear it. That's absolutely a great hack. If you go in, they're all about 7 to 10 minutes long. If you go in as they're rolling and just every 5 minutes kind of check that other tab, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment on each one of them. There is literally nothing outside of Super Chats, House of Reprehensibles, and Patreon that you can do that are more impactful to us. And I can tell a bunch of you did it because I'm looking at the live algorithm right now, and you have certainly assisted in this stretch of times because the analytics are going pretty nanners. That's the tallest bar I've seen. So appreciate you all greatly. Let's see. And now we've got super chats rolling in. Oh shit! I may have to push my meeting back. All right. Hold on 2 seconds. As long as we're getting super chats, I've long said I'm a slut for money. So with you guys doing that shit, I'll go 15 more minutes. I do have to change the premiere time on one of these videos though. Doop. Okay. All right, so now we will go to 1:45. Trust me, there's nobody on this planet that's going to be surprised that I'm late to a meeting because I think I will be late to my own funeral. Okay, now we've got a super chat. Let me get back to my button. From Red Sea, have you seen Daniel Jeremiah's new mock draft? I haven't. I pulled it up, and I'm going to dig into it. Actually, you know what? I got an idea. We'll still go 15 more minutes. Later on today, I will do a... All right, I'm going to set a reasonable expectation here. I'm going to mock the mock Daniel Jeremiah tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Because I want to have time to dig into it because I've already seen a couple things that are a little strange to me. So I want to be able to dig into that, mock the mock tomorrow, Daniel Jeremiah, and I may pull another one to mock the mock. So Red Sea, we will dive into that tomorrow after I've had a chance to read through it. DJ does an absolutely amazing job of mock drafts. He won the mock draft contest last year. I think he finished 4th the year before of like 300 of us. So he's as good as they get. This one's also from Red Sea, who said, Grossi is absolutely hilarious. I can share you some videos with his reactions after the show. I would absolutely love that because I'm so pressed for time today, and I don't want to let that slide. But apparently he is raising $1 million for fallen Patriots. That's special. And Iman Report said he is an amazing dude. Praise YHWH, the newest member of the House of Reprehensibles, which is our little membership club here. And the link is now pinned in the top of the chat. We appreciate all of you for that have joined that. He said, thank you for all your great work, man. Best draft content by far. I appreciate that more than you could ever know. I really appreciate when people say nice things like that. I deal with a lot of bullshit, and I'm fine with that. It doesn't really bother me. Every once in a while, I have one that hits like a nerve in my brain, really pisses me off. But I really appreciate when people enjoy the work. Seriously, tried to find you all last year typing sports crossy. I was missing the O, and stupid YouTube didn't help me. It is getting better. So we actually just crossed 5,000 subscribers last night, and 5,000 is the hardest benchmark on YouTube to cross. And once you cross it, allegedly, things get a little bit easier. So here's to hoping that is true. But thank you so much, Praise, for being a member of the House of Reprehensibles and your kind words. We really, really appreciate you. Bangus Garchi, please let me know if I said that name correctly. Said, hey, Jeremy, longtime silent listener and longtime Jet fan. Is there a scenario where the Jets draft a tackle in the first round? Is there a scenario? Yes. I'm trying to come up with what it is. If there was no Mason Graham, Tet McMillan, Will Johnson, somehow those three guys all went in front of them, and the quarterbacks were gone, and Travis Hunter was gone. So that would have to be the 6 picks directly in front of them. I could see a path that they would take Will Campbell at 7 from LSU. I could also see a path that they fell in love with Armin Mimbo, because Mimbo kind of reminds me of a really, and when I say really, I mean really, poor man's Penei Sewell. So I will say yes, there is a possibility. I would say it would be about 50-50 with Will Campbell and Armin Mimbo, and they would have to really fall in love. But it is possible. I would say it would probably be more likely with a trade down. And by the way, I just want to say this as a broad scale. Yes, we know that you want your team to trade down. Trade downs are going to be really, really, really hard in this draft. I've had I bet 1,000 comments across all social medias that have said, my team X should trade down and get this guy 5 picks later. You do understand that for you to trade down, you have to find somebody that wants to trade up. And there's not going to be a lot of those because this is a deep class. It's not great on the highest of high sides. We have 2 more of these.
My cock is.
No. That's the wrong button. I hit the wrong button. No. That is a funny fucking button. I'm going to have to remember that. Oh, that's funny. You got to love live. That's. Oh, sorry. That made me laugh because it was really loud in my head. Let's hit the right button, not whatever the hell that was. Shut the fuck up. I can't trust the website at all. I can't trust it at all. I don't know what it's doing. I don't know when it's going to stop. Okay, it stopped. There we go. Let's just stick to that fucking button. Praise YHWH with 2 super chats. So we will hit the Taco Bell button again. I love it that the soundboard website would put a button that they lied to you about what it was and then said, do not touch. And it starts with that. That's a thing. That's a thing that just happened to me. It's been a fun day. Sir Jimothy said, praise super chats are a huge help for them and helps get your voice opinions out there to the world. Various levels of payment and letters allowed. That's and we appreciate the super chats so much. It's so funny you mentioned this. When we were at the Senior Bowl, I was talking to some friends of mine that do podcasts, and they follow us. I follow them. It's one of the great things about doing this is that the community is so tight. And one of the things that they asked is, how do you have these guys that are so willing to super chat and do all of these things? The one guy specifically said, you made more in a month in super chats than we've made in 2 years of doing a channel. And my only answer was, we have really fucking awesome people that listen to us. We have really awesome people that come up to me in bars. There's literally a bar right below my house that I go to all the time. Actually, a great chance that I stop in there today. That are phenomenal to come up and just say that they appreciate the work we do and super chat things. And constantly people are asking, how can we help you guys out? It literally means the world to us. And I know I'm the least emotional person you'll ever meet in your life in person. But when it comes to talking about things like this, it just hits a thing with me, because it means so much to us that you guys do that. And we appreciate you for saying that, Sir Jimothy. He also said, glad to help. This is a fun, dysfunctional group to be a part of. It is a fun group to be a part of. Matt Penn said, yeah, also as a colorblind person, the 3 middle tier beer colors blend together. Yeah. So when I made those, I was a youngman, and I had this setup. I was blowing them up, and Tank picked the colors, because I don't do color all that well. So I don't even know what colors they are. I can tell, at least it looks like Jimothy's is orange. I also saw that logo for about 4 years, and if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, I think it's on the shirt I'm wearing underneath this this pullover. So I've seen that one a few times, and he said top 2 colors. Bob Brown asked me, any chatter about Frank Reich as the OC in Philly? Owner and Nick love him. He won't outshine Nick, but can give some long-term stability to Hurts. Gets off the merry-go-round like Fangio did. I have heard that a few times. I have heard very little. I was going to say virtually nothing about the OC search in Philadelphia. I'll dig in today. I've got a really good friend that does an Eagles podcast, and I'll see if there's any news that he can give me to push along there. But I think Frank Reich would be a solid hire. Sir Jimothy said he was outie. We appreciate you, Sir Jimothy, as always. Austin Groves, best team to bet they make a trade on draft day. Ooh. Jacksonville would be pretty high. New England would be pretty high. But if one does it, the other won't. I think there is a trade in the top 10, and I think it's for a quarterback. And I think it's in front of the Raiders. It might be to the Raiders, for all I know. But I don't, after I did that mock and Cam Ward fell to the Raiders at 6, I kept thinking, New England and Jacksonville both have paths of multiple players that they could really like. And I could see a path that they find a trade down, maybe even with the Raiders, just to avoid anybody else doing it. So I will say my top 2 would be the Jaguars and the Patriots. Notorious B.I.G., I wouldn't take Shamar Stewart in the first round. He's very explosive, but he rarely finishes on tape. I wouldn't let him get past the first 10 picks of the second round, but I think Stewart will be one of those guys that has 70-plus pressures with only 5 sacks a season. I could not have said that better myself. He was so explosive at the Senior Bowl. And then I went back and watched the tape, and he is so explosive on film. And then he never finishes plays. And I don't know that I've ever seen a guy like that. There is talk of him as high as the top 10. I think that's going to dampen. It's going to get much louder because he's going to go to the combine and blow it out. But I think that will subside when the scouts take over. Eat and Sleep Football agreed on that one. Red Sea sent me some Tom Grossi videos to the Discord. I greatly appreciate that. Pennywise said, to defend Josh Connerly Jr., I just want to say he didn't allow any sacks versus Abdul Carter. In his entire career, he only allowed 2. Look, I love Josh Connerly. I think these people that are railing on him for getting eaten up by Mike Green in that one rep at the Senior Bowl, it is so short-sighted and it is so stupid. But it is happening, and it's happening a lot. So I actually did have Connerly. I had Connerly I can't remember now who he fell to. But he fell into the second round because there's so much heat on him right now. But I do think he will have a good combine and should be able to rally. But I really like Josh Connerly. Andreas Pinckney said, we degenerates have to stick together. If you're betting on teams to make trades, keep an eye on Denver. Sean's screaming in the media that they need a joker. Plus, he is insanely aggressive. Most of the what the fuck first-round picks for the Saints were his call. That's actually that's a really good point. That Sean Payton is very much a wild card in the draft, and he long has been. Piss the hell off Browns fan. Jeremy, every time I watch Kelvin Banks, I see another video of him getting beat. Josh Simmons has the best technique. I would agree that Simmons has, I can't say the best technique. I think he has better technique than Kelvin Banks. I like the body frame on Banks, and I also think there's more to develop out of Banks. Simmons has played a lot of football. Banks has too. But I think there's more there with him. That's why I have him slightly ahead of Josh Simmons. You also have the medical on Simmons. He's coming off an ACL tear, and that does make me nervous. I think Banks will go somewhere right around 10, and I would say Josh Simmons, he has a ceiling that's up around 10, but I would say his floor is in the mid-20s, and a lot of that's going to be based on the medical. I haven't met a person that doesn't like Josh Simmons, but then you get to the medical and go, ew. Pissed off Browns fan also said, I think Campbell's a straight-up guard. I would be nervous to put him at left tackle. I'm a little more cautious with just the, oh, shit, he has short arms. He can't play left tackle because Rashawn Slater has been so damn good. I see a lot of Rashawn Slater in Will Campbell. So I can't tell you that. I don't know. I think he has a very safe floor because, okay, if he doesn't work at tackle, I'm going to slide him over to guard. He's going to be one of the best ones in the league. I value players like that. Now, I know not a lot of people do. I think Will Campbell is super athletic. And you get that guy out as a pulling guard, yeah, that can be really, really good for it can be good for your entire offense. So I guess that's my point with Will Campbell. You're telling me his floor is he's going to be a top 10 guard in the league. I don't have that kind of floor with anybody else in the top 10. Not once I get to him, because there are some scary floors up there. Ted McMillan has a scary floor, to be really honest with you. Because if he goes the step past Drake London, now we're getting into Mike Williams and not the one that's in the league right now. So I like Will Campbell a lot. A lot of people seem to think he's only a guard. I disagree right now. I do reserve the right to change my mind once we get an official measurement on his arms. And we'll have that after the combine. Rex B, Tom Grossi has raised over $300,000 for fallen Patriots. He isn't stopping the stream until he reaches 1 million. Holy shit. That's I will have to check that out when I get back. Good for Tom Grossi, though. Bill Workman, Simmons needs a good bill of health from the combine. Agreed. He is one of the most important bills of health at the combine. One of the most important players that really needs to interview well. He needs to pass the medical well, and frankly, to be able to show that he can move in any kind of way. I don't think he's working out or anything like that, but and that probably comes into the medical, just show that he's healing well. Price said, all about schemes and fit. I know Sean Payton, our GOAT, but Marcus Davenport over Lamar Jackson was almost my 13th reason. Yeah, I could see that still pissing you off many years later. Bob Brown, who is this year's Jalix Hunt? I'm assuming you're asking smaller school guy that I really like. David Walker's the first name that came to mind. He had a very nondescript Senior Bowl. He's get out of Central Arkansas. He had a very nondescript Senior Bowl, but I'm still really, really, really high on him. Yeah, that's probably my answer. Solely because that works out nicely that it's a smaller school edge rusher just like Jalix Hunt. He's not the physical freak that Jalix was. We have some of those, and we're going to talk about those as time goes on. But in terms of small school guy that I think goes late in day 2, early in day 3, and has an immediate impact as a pass rusher, I'll say it's David Walker. Red Sea Grossi was the fan of the year last year. Went to every stadium in a month to raise money for St. Jude's. Damn. I don't know. I don't know who this guy is. Need to do some digging. Detroit fan man, decent amount of Lions draft mock coverage is now seemingly just implying that a trade for Myles Garrett is already happening. Is that just convenient smoke? I'm not going to say it's just convenient smoke. It could be partially convenient smoke, but Myles Garrett, the two teams that I've consistently heard with him are the Lions and the Washington Commanders. That's the two, and there's really not even a convenient third. It's the Lions and the Commanders, and I think it's a two-horse race there. And look, I know the Raiders have money. I know the Patriots have money. I know the Bears have money. I don't hear any of those. I hear Commanders. I hear Lions, and that's where I think Myles Garrett will play for one of the two. Pennywise with what will probably be our last question of the day. Why is James Pierce Jr. falling down every board? Have people not watched him? And Andreas Pinckney got to it for me. It's character red flags. I don't think none of what I have heard is enough that he should be falling down boards. But where there's smoke, there tends to be fire. And so he's one of the guys that I'm really looking forward to getting in the rooms next week and asking, hey, what is it that you've heard on Pierce? I'm curious because I love the tape on him. He's one of my favorite players in this class. So if there are personality red flags, it would be really helpful to know. Pissed off Browns fan with what will be our last comment of the day. I am so tired of this Myles Garrett shit. If you're going to trade him, go ahead. It's just very distracting. I agree. If a trade's going to happen, I don't think it's going to take long after the start of the league year, which is March 12th. So now you're getting conjecture right now because you can't do anything else. Till the league year starts, you can't actually finalize the trade. So, unfortunately, you are going to have to hear about that for about 3 more weeks. But then, once the league year starts, if he's going to be dealt, I believe it will happen reasonably quick. Okay, made it to 1:43. We have a mock draft coming out in 2 minutes. This video will become that one. That one is for the San Francisco 49ers, so give that one a like. And just watch it all the way through, and we appreciate you so greatly. I am at ESPN Draft Nerd Jeremy Green. We'll do another live stream tomorrow at noon. More mock drafts coming out on the channel. Just a flood of content. It's Draftmas season, ladies and gentlemen, and it's all yours right here in the Sportsocracy.
Devil in a red dress, call 911, I'm a killer. You know I hate to confess. Bang bang, got my hand on the trigger. The devil in a red dress, call 911, I'm a killer. You know I hate to confess. Bang bang, got my hand, call. Yeah.